Okie dokie. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Today, August 4th, 2021. My name is Richard Lewis Brown. Tonight, Local 1000 listens to you. It's going to be a fun night tonight. Last night, Annika Walls did the new Local 1000 speaks on it. She did it from 7 to 8, did an incredible job. And that last night replaced the Wednesday night Stewart cost. So last night is a little different than tonight. Tonight with Richard. And so we're going to get started. They're going to let people in the room here in a second. And then we're going to sit back and we're going to listen to you and your concerns about Local 1000. We're going to listen to you about your concerns about anything you want to talk about tonight. We're here for you, Local 1000. We're here for everyone equally. Everyone has a voice in this union, and I'm really excited. So let's get started. First person, Yolanda Curtis. Good evening, Yolanda. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing super great.
That's wonderful. Thank you. First of all, I would like to begin discussing staff returning back to the workplace. I would like to know, is the union going to meet up with Cal OSHA to make sure there's going to be some guidelines to follow throughout all state agencies based on the number of people coming to the office? Let me give you an example. And this is what took place in a unit meeting today. They're asking staff the number of days, asking them which days they prefer to come in. And it appears if everyone selects Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it appears that that's what is going to happen. Everybody show up on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it really depends on at the end what management, upper management, division managers going to decide. My question is that if everyone select the same amount of days, whether with every 3 days they want to work, and in that particular unit, you have more than 50 people and to come to work and there's no social distancing, as well as the agency, what I've noticed is not have updated any what they call it airways, air conditioning and ventilation system. I have not heard anything about the upgrades to that system, especially if you're trying to have people in a certain area. Because for some reason or another, we're not hearing information from Cal OSHA. I mean, it's, because I presume that Cal OSHA should be invited. This ain't got nothing to do with whether or not an individual vaccinated or unvaccinated. It's the safety of staff, period. That's what we're concerned about. Another point that has been brought to my attention is that since their management is going to decide which days that employees can return to work, they also saying they want face-to-face meetings in the workplace. So in other words, in a conference room, when there's a unit meeting, the vaccinated, this came out the unit meeting today, individuals that are vaccinated sit on one side of the conference room and the unvaccinated individuals sit on another side in the same conference room. I feel that this is discriminatory. I feel that, well, not me, the people, they feel that it's discriminatory and that they're overlooking American Disability Act, as well as reasonable accommodation. All that should play in a factor as far as something that needs to be done, because bringing people back and not having a plan in place, this is going to be, the number's going to look somewhat different for this COVID, bringing someone, and there's not a plan. Also, if they're going to issue individuals to come in 3 days a week or whatever days. It should be a shared calendar. So the ones that's been working there all along and never decided to do telework or work remotely should also be able to see who's coming in and who's not. So now that we have all these people staggering in, coming in because they missed a day, whatever. But the only people that can administer, the only people that can touch that should be able to be the managers, the team leaders, and things like that. So those are my concern. Is the union and Cal HR, are we gonna meet with Cal OSHA? What is Cal OSHA saying with these individuals return to work, or they're just allowing the agency to do what they want to do and we follow along?
Okay, so Yolanda Curtis, those are great questions, and we thank you for taking 2 minutes to explain that. You explained it in great detail. And so I'm simply saying this. We sent a cease and desist letter in, and we followed that letter up with an unfair labor practice charge. We are still in the efforts to sit down with Cal HR, and hopefully Cal OSHA will join in on that conversation. This is why we're enforcing our contract, because of all of the unanswered questions. So like you said, it's not about being vaccinated or not being vaccinated. It's the fact they violated our contract, and there's too many unanswered questions about these issues. And I want to thank you for taking time to explain that to us very clearly. And so I'm not going to take up any more time with that particular question. I'm going to go to the next caller. The next caller is Michael Gus. Good evening, Michael.
Hi, Mr. President. Thank you for the time. You mentioned the contract, and I want to commend you for making the contract search tool public. I searched the contract, and I found a really interesting section, 10.25, infectious disease control, which excludes units 15, 17, 20, and 21. However, they have very similar language to what I'm about to quote in their sections. And I specifically want to mention section 10.25E. The state shall utilize the best guidelines available. Examples of guidelines may include the use of joint advisory notices issued by the Centers for Disease Control. For licensed hospitals, such training shall be consistent with the California Code of Regulations. The CDC issued guidance that said, if confirm your employees' vaccination status, and test employees that are not vaccinated twice a week. The state elected to follow the CDC guidance. So I just want to state for the record that I disagree with the statement that our contract's been violated. It seems to me that the state is following provision 10.25E of the contract. And again, this is wonderfully entitled infectious disease control. And I want to, again, commend you for the transparency for making you not have to log in to review this. And I thought it was very interesting. So I wanted to bring that up and put that on the record. And I'll say that personally, I feel safer knowing that employees are either vaccinated or being tested. We had a situation where there was a COVID positive within our unit recently, and it makes everybody safer to know what's going on. And I'm glad that the state is following the CDC guidance, and I think that that's in line with our contract. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments, Michael Gus. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because other people have mentioned that part of the contract 10.2. But it's interesting because we filed the unfair labor practice charge, and this is my first time saying this, PERB accepted it, and now they've expedited this process. And so the meet and confer was violated. And so when you read our contract from page, from front to back, you'll pull out different parts. And sometimes you can look at our contract and it can validate how you feel on certain issues and maybe invalidate how you feel on other issues. So the way our contract is written, it's not really clear cut. It's somewhat vague. And so it lets attorneys get in the room and, debate each other over what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. So the fact that we said that the state of California once again violated our contract, we're not giving us a 30-day notice, that's valid. But you can go to other parts of the contract and say, well, the state has the power to do certain things. So PERB has said, no, let's expedite this process and let's sit down and talk about this. And I think that's fantastic. So I'm gonna stop there because I know a lot of people have a lot of questions. And so we'll try to keep everybody at 2 minutes. And so we'll go to the very next person, Guadalupe Lopez. Good evening.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, so I'm a teacher. Nice to meet you, by the way. I'm a teacher
to
at
meet you.
Centinela State Prison. I've recently started the LAPS program, and the reason I'm doing that is because we haven't had any real representation there. And so one of the first things I do want to bring up, sir, is that when I started there 5 years ago, they told me about a retention and recruitment pay that would be given to teachers who work at Centinela, Calipat, and several other, because it's hard to find qualified teachers. We've never received that. No one's ever enforced it. And so it was brought up to me again, and I was asked, are we gonna get paid that? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea if the state is, I guess, off the hook for it. And I also wanted to ask about the OPEB. You know, my fault, I really didn't notice when we were starting to pay into that. But let's say someone like me, I don't plan to get the state's medical insurance when I retire, hopefully in 10 years, because my husband's is so much better in retirement. So what happens to that money that people pay into it and do not use that insurance?
Okay. Those are great questions. You know, I'm not going to talk about that first question, but I want to go to that second one. Because the first question that involves our contract that's already signed, I hope, Guadalupe, that you'll email me, and so I can put that comment away for issues for our next contract. But that second question about the OPEB, other post-employment benefits, that started years ago, and now we're at 3.5% as of this month. When you pay into it, you may not receive it. And so they convinced everyone in the state of California that if you don't pay into your retiree health care, there's a chance that you may not have it when you retire. And I said that was a scare tactic. But they convinced the unions to, quote, negotiate away what was guaranteed through the government code. And they negotiated that away. They've opened this door up. And so this latest pay increase of 4.55%, when you take away the 3.5% OPEB, it leaves you at 1.05% pay increase over 2 years. I'm informed that the cost of living, inflation is at 4 to 5%. So you're not getting ahead, you're going backwards. But you're in a union that's supposed to fight for substantial pay increases, safe working conditions, and free from abuse of bad supervisors for a specified period of time, regardless of any emergency situation. So it's a shame that we're paying into this OPEB. In this next contract, we're going to eliminate that OPEB. We're going to fight for what was naturally ours. And so before people say, well, Richard, you know, if we don't pay into it, they can take it from us. I'm not so sure those state legislators pay into OPEB. In fact, I'm going to say that they don't pay into OPEB, but yet they'll get health care for life. So if they're not paying into OPEB, why are you? They're a public servant, and so are you. So what's the difference? There is none, because they're not better than you. And when we lost 2 days of pay while under a signed contract, they prioritized and protected their families through bipartisanship. Why are they better than you? They're not. Let's move on. Thank you for your question, though, Guadalupe. The next person is Bob Christic. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Richard. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being with us. And just a note, I noticed that you're a little less cheerful than the last time. I hope everything is okay on your side.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll go back to the vaccines and these new rules that the government is trying to put on all of us. And I have a question for you. Will you and would you represent all of the sides of this story? Because quite a few people agree with mandatory vaccinations.
That's
A
right.
lot of us do not agree with mandatory vaccinations, and
That's right.
quite a lot do not agree with testings either. And I'll tell you why.
That's right.
Just 3 days ago, FDA, you all can find on FDA website, Food and Drug Administration, that FDA is recalling the rapid COVID test because it causes serious injury or death. So my question to everyone, and to you, Richard, too, would you stand for all of us who would not want to risk our lives and health taking this test 2 days a week with who knows what putting in our mouth or our nose? Because I did not subscribe to this. I did not come to work for the state to be someone's testing animal. I'm sorry for the harsh language. I think this is disgraceful for them to try to push on us. And number two, question is, if we get tested, then why did Dr. Fauci and everyone else right now saying, even CDC, saying that 75% of new COVID cases are actually amongst the vaccinated people? So there's a lot of contradicting information here. Again, going back to the first question, would you represent all the sides and fight for all of us so that we feel safe? Because quite honestly, I've been going to work for the last 2 weeks thinking and seeing subconsciously that my supervisors are waving the syringe over my head, trying to push me into getting the vaccine, which I do not want to. I have my immune system. I'm a young individual. And if I would just dare to say, please leave me alone. I'm here to work and I want to be a free man. Okay? Thank you so much.
Okay. Let me first start by saying, yes, I'm going to treat everyone represented by this union with equal love and equal respect. I was asked to not talk about this issue. This issue is not going away anytime soon. So let me try this again. We sent an email out saying that we're going to support all Rivers employees on their ability to choose what they do with this issue, and we're going to fight for them. That's what we said in the email. Some people cannot understand the email. And the reason why you probably couldn't understand it was it gave you the freedom to make up your own mind if you wanted to show your vaccination card, if you wanted to be subjected to COVID testing, or if you didn't. The one thing that we did say, and I've said it repeatedly over the last few days, is to please wear a mask. There's a lot of issues on this. I have received a lot of angry emails, and I've received a lot of happy emails. These emails is a reflection of our country. Some people believe in the vaccination and they believe in humanity. Other people don't trust this vaccination and they're scared and they feel their rights over their body is being violated. I am not a doctor. I'm not an attorney. I'm just your president, trying to show everyone equal love and respect in this union, and that is what I'm going to do. They violated our contract, and it wasn't the first time, but this is the last time that the state of California, and I don't care who the governor is, I don't care if he's on the elephant or the donkey or whatever animal, mystical creature that he's on, or she's on, should I say. We're going to fight for our people. No one is going to feel left out in this union. To those who say that I'm an anti-vaxxer, that is an absolute lie. I put up my vaccination card with my birth date on it. Obviously, that wasn't good enough. So no matter what I say about this issue, I will never please everyone at the same time about this issue. So we'll go back to the contract. We're going to enforce our contract and we're going to fight for everyone equally. If you feel your life is in danger and you should not take that COVID test, then that's the choice that you make, and we're going to stand behind you. And to those who have taken the test, who are vaccinated, and want everyone else to get vaccinated, I'm going to respect your opinion as well. I don't want those who are vaccinated to discriminate or harass those who are not vaccinated. This is wrong. And we're going to fight for every voice in this union. And if the people in the union who don't want to get vaccinated are the minorities, then what is wrong with that? Minorities have a voice in this country. At least that's what you told me last summer. I'll stop there. Okay, let's move on. Next person is Alexi. Hi, Alexi. Good evening. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President. I still feel like it's still in the morning. Anyway, so
Okay.
I'm just nice to meet you. I'm trying to keep my questions short so everyone will get a chance to ask questions. I saw an email today that the union reached a settlement for IT, staff or employees, that they're going to get some wages back. My question regards to that is, how are we going to back to claim our wage loss from last year with the Calpers governor? And my second question is, how cannot we have a strike clause in our union contract? So, so at least we have a better contract next time. And happened to be back in 2016, when the previous president was negotiating with the state. At the very last minute, she gave up. She gave everything to the state, saying, oh, we're going to go back to, the negotiation table. But if you had the strike clause, we would have had better, wages back then, as far as, wages. So those questions is, how can we have this better contract next time if we have a strike clause in our contract so the state cannot mess around with the state employees? And the other one is that how can we go back and file a claim our wage loss? And I'm sure every one of us, got that 10%, almost 10% cut off, and put us in a lot of, financial depression. And I'd like to know what would be my answer to those questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you for those two questions. The first question, how do we make up for that lost pay for over a year, 2 days of lost pay per month? I know some people want us to tear up this current contract and start over, and that we get a substantial pay increase. The only way we can tear up this current contract is for the state to do a side letter agreement, an emergency side letter agreement, because that would be the right thing to do. Question is, do you think the state will do that? Do you think the state would, in an emergency, tear up our contract and say, we were wrong for taking 2 days of pay from you. We were wrong for saying we were in a financial crisis. We were wrong for how we treated you. And we were wrong for not giving you that essential worker premium pay right now. I don't think they'll do it. Because remember, people claim in our union that the state is our boss. Even though this current governor was voted in by taxpayers, they tell you that him and the legislature, they're our bosses, but they're not. We should be able to make up for that lost pay. 76 billion and then 27 billion from the federal government. So people are saying, tear up the current contract and let's start over. Those people who are saying that, you're not wrong. But the state of California will not tear up that contract. And you know why the state won't tear up the contract? Because they're going to tell you, honor your contract. That's what they're going to tell you, except when they need something from you, and then they're going to take from you, and they're going to violate your contract and put your life at risk. Second part of the question, the strike. We have a no strike clause in our contract. They do that because they say it gives labor peace. It makes the management, makes the state feel like everything is safe. That, if they put a no strike clause in the contract, now they know you can't go on strike. It makes them feel safe. Because if they decide to take money from you, well, what can you do? You can't go on strike. It makes them feel safe. If they tell you to take a vaccination or show your vaccination card or, be subjected to COVID testing, what can you do? You can't strike. You have a no strike clause. Let me reassure you this, if you don't take anything from tonight. When I negotiate this next contract and I lead the negotiations, I guarantee you, we're not putting no strike clause in our next contract unless those wages, working conditions, and job security is guaranteed. No PLP, no furlough, no new type of legal financial reduction, nothing that's going to humiliate you, take away your dignity, put you in an unsafe workplace, with an unsafe boss. We will have none of that. None of it. When our current contract expires June 30th, 2023, and we bargain like we've always bargained in good faith, because that's who we are, Local 1000. We do things with good faith, with good honor, with integrity, decency, love, respect. When we do this and we reach a legal impasse, and should we have to take a strike vote, let me reassure you 1000%. If we take that strike vote and that strike vote comes through yes, in a transparent voting process where there's no funny business, I can guarantee you we will shut this state down and we will send a message across the nation. You will no longer mistreat any state employee because all the other unions will watch us and follow us and support us. Those days of the state pushing us around, bullying us, trying to intimidate us with our jobs, our careers, when we don't do what they want us to do, it's over. I'm telling you this. This is why they don't want me in this position. This is why they're working hard to do everything they can to shut these videos down, to get me off Facebook, get me off social media, shut my mouth down, silence my voice as a minority in this country. But they told you last summer Black Lives Matter, but they lied to you. Sorry, had to say it. Okay, you're not going to shut my mouth down. You're not going to silence my voice. I'm going to keep digging in. And the harder you come at me, the harder I'm going to come back at you. There will be a car crash. There will be some confrontation. There's a time for peace. That's in the New Testament. But in the Old Testament, there was a time for war. Okay, let's move on to the next caller. Oh, I see him. DLC President 792, Jack Dean, Lansing County. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm not bad. That's a tough one to follow up that you just gave me there. I'm not even going to try, but I'll kind of,
okay.
I'm going to piggyback onto that a little bit and talk about a couple of simple things. Democracy and unity. That's what I want to talk about. Our group is controlled by the majority of its members. And the democracy of our union, I mean, it's the very foundation of our power. So is the unity. And you can't have one without the other. Without the respect for the democracy, you can't unite. The majority at SEIU 1000 spoke, and they asked for Richard Brown. And out of respect for democracy and our 100,000 members, all board members need to start working with the president and the members. That's what they voted in. That's what they wanted. Our union is member-led. The members are the majority that are supposed to be controlling our union, not the board of directors. We work for the members. Talk to your members, please. Without unity, we fail to have a union. We need to have a union. We're divided. The state knows it. We're getting no respect at the work sites. We're getting no respect at the bargaining table. We can't answer questions. They can't solve issues. They can't do anything. They're sent down with marching orders. That's all we get at the table. The people SEIU represents are not being treated fairly because the elected officials of the board of directors are split. We're the largest public sector union in California, and we should be the most powerful. But the state isn't taking anything that we do seriously right now. The state knows, I mean, they know that we have no unity and we have no strength. The people we represent run the state as a united front, all for one our MOU until they respect us. My ask is that all board members start leading by example, respect democracy, unify. We must become one brotherhood to become the strongest union in the country, and that's what we need to do. And I can tell you right now, if you, as a board member, any one of you, want to work with Richard Brown, he'll work with you. I promise. I've seen it. So once again, my ask is please, and I'm going to be calling every single board member, every one of you, I promise you're going to be hearing from me, because this is something that we can't move forward without. You keep hearing Richard talk about, changing the contract, the next contract. How are we going to get the next contract? How are we going to get the next contract? When everybody begins to respect democracy, respect the votes that came in and who they voted for, and start working with that individual and unite. We have to show up as a united front. We got enough. Thank you, Richard.
Okay.
That's all I got. Thank you.
And thank you, DLC 792 President Jack Dean, Lansing County, up there in Susanville. There's not really much to add. Democracy, unity, excellence, strength. How is that produced? I'll say it again. Democracy, unity, excellence, strength, dues. I just made that up. Building an outstanding network of united state employees. There's your bonus. I hope you're listening, everybody. All right, let's move on to the next caller, Pete Barker. Good evening, Pete.
Hey, good evening, Richard. Thanks for getting me in here.
You're very welcome.
I wanted to be one other voice right along with what Michael Gus was saying. And I just want to say I respect the fact that you are clearly vaccinated, and you've been very clear that this is not a favoritism as far as which side of the aisle that you're on. But I want to say, as a dues paying member, it's frustrating for me when I see my union doing things that I believe are contrary to my personal safety at work. I don't see this being an issue of freedom, because I can couch that either way. And I could say that I have the freedom to know that I'm going to work and I'm being safe. And to the previous caller who said that the FDA recalled the test because of safety reasons, it was recalled because of possible false positives and false negatives. There were no safety issues that were reported on their website. I just confirmed that. My position is that I respect the fact that some people will choose not to get vaccinated. I personally believe that that's not the socially responsible choice. I believe that we've gotten through many other pandemics in the history of our civilization, partly because of vaccinations, and I want to get back to normal, and I think that's how it's going to happen. I feel like my union is working against those interests by making it more unnecessarily difficult for the state to do exactly what the CDC is asking it to do. And that is to not push vaccinations, but to encourage people to be vaccinated and to be able to account for the safety of the people that are going to work by knowing who is and who is not positive, and who is not vaccinated. That's my
Okay.
position. I appreciate you
Okay.
hearing me out on that, but and I know that you won't necessarily be able to make everybody happy on this, but I have to be one other voice that says I feel like we're taking the wrong approach to this. Thanks very much, Richard.
You're very welcome, Pete Barker. Listen, Pete Barker, what he just said symbolizes a lot of people in Local 1000. They're concerned about safety. Anybody with common sense is concerned about safety because we don't want to put anyone at harm. But you know, I've taken a lot of calls and messages and emails about people who have disabilities, people who have medical conditions that cannot take their vaccination, and therefore they do not want to be subjected to the COVID test. Now, is that a small minority? Probably. But I thought minorities in this country, once again, had a voice. But there are other people who say they do not believe in this vaccination. I don't have all the answers. I have said this repeatedly. What I have simply said, we're not going to let the state of California violate our contract under any idea of an emergency or anything else. They told you to give up your money for 2 days of pay for a whole year, and they didn't have to do that. Somehow we must have amnesia, or somehow we're suffering from Stockholm syndrome. The kidnapper has kidnapped you, and you don't even realize it, and you sympathize with this person, or this institution, this system. What I'm simply saying is we're going to enforce our contract. If they would have called the union, if Gavin would have called me and said, Richard, let's sit down, let's talk about this. And we would have sat down and we'd have had a long conversation. It probably would have lasted several days. And all the smart people would have to come to the room for the vaccination, those against the vaccination, or those who would have said, if you do this, how can you do it in a uniform manner? And then some would have said, you wouldn't be in this situation, Gavin, if you just would have established permanent telecommuting for all state agencies with one standardized plan that was updated from the 2010 DGS telework plan. All this stuff, and I say stuff, could have been avoided, but it wasn't avoided. And I'm the bad guy. And when these people tell you that I don't represent the union, only got 33% of the vote, you need to go back in time and look at the 2021, 2018, and 2015 elections. The vote turnouts were not that great to begin with. And when the former president won with her vote count, no one had told her anything like this. So why is everyone so strong to attack me, so quick to make a rush to judgment? I still love you, and I back up everybody. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. To those who got vaccinated, thank you. To those who say no, I still love you. I'm not going to discriminate or make you feel like you're not as good as me. Absolutely not. All right, let's move on to the next caller. Frank Askin. Good evening, Frank. How are you?
Good evening, Richard. I'm doing just phenomenal. And yourself, brother?
I'm doing good, Frank. Talk to me.
Pretty good. Just got two quick questions for you. Number one, where's your purple at? And number two,
Right.
I would like to know, I want to have a conversation with you about a dinner item, pizza and pineapple. Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Okay, so, okay, Frank, that's a good one. You got me on that one. So listen, Frank, when I ran in 2015, 2018, and 2021, I don't run the color purple, and you know that. And so I've been consistent about no political spending. The purple and the gold of Local 1000 represents SEIU International in DC. That's what it represents. And so you don't see me wear those colors. If you ever see me wearing purple, Frank, I'm going to a Prince concert. If you ever see me wearing purple, then someone from my past has called my card and they say, Rich, where are you, Rich? It's time to play ball. Where are you? And I'll show up wearing purple. So I don't wear purple, and there's no reason for me to lie about this. My colors are orange and blue. That means I'm true. Orange for the sun, blue for the sky, because I believe in God that created everything. I am not a child of evolution. I'm God's child. I was created. And so therefore, my colors are orange and blue because I'm true. Now, your second part of your question, the pineapple on the pizza. I don't know, Frank, because people tell me that I don't know anything. So I don't know if you put pineapple or apples. I don't know, Frank. Whatever you do with your pizza, I'm going to support your freedom of choice to create your, and I didn't say change your pizza. I said create your pizza the way you want to have your pizza created. And I'm going to give you one third one, Frank, because you made me smile tonight. That SBAC will happen. I can't guarantee you within the next 2 months, but that SBAC will take place, Frank. That's a promise. And you've been on me about this, and I'm going to hold to my promise. Thank you, Frank. Okay, so we'll go on to the next caller, Michael Ramos. Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Call me Mike. What's up, brother?
Hey, Mike. You're not a sir. You're Mike. I got the message. Go ahead, Mike.
You're doing pretty good. You look really tired. Is there a reason why you're so tired?
When I act professional and I stay calm, cool, and collective, that does not mean I'm tired. I'm just wanting people to express themselves. We want to have a nice, warm, loving conversation tonight. That's all that it is. I'm not tired.
I'd be tired. Weren't you up at 3:30 in the morning?
Yes, Mike. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was visiting. I was invited to go to EDD in the area, and people wanted to know why the union hadn't been there and if they had ever been there. So we were communicating. We were laughing and talking. I was with the vice president, vice president organizing and representation, Annika was, and that DLC president, 784, Cullen Crow. So we had a great time. Thanks for noticing.
Hey, I'm impressed you still got your head up. I'd be ready for a nap about now.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Last bit. One of the things I noticed is after we have our conversations is, people send me screenshots of the Facebook Live, and I am not the chosen fan of the folks on Facebook Live. I've been called some pretty entertaining things. And just the fact that I'm trying to have a simple conversation with my president, and I get called things like douchebag, why is he talking? I mean, will this guy ever shut the F up? And I'm like, that's interesting. I love the fact that my family, who has Facebook, send me those screenshots like, this is what they're saying about you on your talks. I don't think that's nice. What do you think?
Well, listen. Now, I did a video. Fear overcomes anger and madness. It's called phone. I remember what I said in that. And so I'm practicing what I preach. And I've given people the free pass to call me names. If they want to be a little prejudiced, a little racist, do what you got to do. This is currently still a free country, currently. So when people say these names and people like you encourage me to keep fighting, that's what you're doing. Listen, we have the best employees in the state of California. You're just mad at me right now. I should not have won this election. I have said this over and over again. Don't get mad at me, get mad at God. So people can continue to call me names. I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to treat them with fairness and respect. And we're going to go forward and we're going to unify the union through love and respect. That I guarantee you. But I'll say this to you, Mike. Some of these people, when they come at me, when I get back at them, don't go crying. Don't say I bullied you, I intimidated you, I didn't make you feel safe in the workplace. No, 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 no. You came and you got the right one. But tonight, I'm in chill mode. Okay, Mike. Okay, so the next caller, I'm being told to move on. I like talking to Mike. Okay, Molly Khan. Good evening, Molly. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for fighting for both sides. From listening to you talk, you sound really convicted and representing everybody. And I just think it's totally wrong for the state to breach our contract and not offer reasonable accommodations for people who choose not to be tested, not to be vaxxed, whatever their choices are. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting everybody and being a fighter.
Thank you, Molly. Somebody has, wow. You know, when I ran, people said, well, we don't care about your campaign. Every day is a campaign for me. Every day I can come to the union and be the president is a day of victory in the name of God through Jesus Christ. I believe in justice for everyone. I'm from the Black community, and I demand justice and respect as a Black man in this country. Now, I never thought in my life I'd be in a position where I have to fight for people who weren't Black. I thought I did that in the Air Force. I thought those days were over. I guess not. I'm going to fight for everyone in this union, regardless of your color, your sexual orientation, or your religion, or where you're from, and more importantly, your political party. I'm going to fight for everyone equally, and that's what I campaigned on. I did it in 15, I did it in 18, and then I did it again in 2021. I am sincere in my efforts to get this done. I realize in this country that when you don't always go along with the majority, they will try to censor your voice. And this has been a popular theme over the last few years. Let me reassure you, Molly, the harder they come to break me, the more I would dig in on these people. We will unify this union. And let me finish by saying this. I don't want anyone to cancel their membership, but I know some people feel strongly about the cease and desist letter that was sent out about the violation of our contract. And so they're threatening to cancel their membership. And so I say this to them the way I said this during the elections in 18 and 21. I'm begging you, please do not give up on the union. Do not give up. Please do not walk away. And to those who are coming back to the union or coming to the union for the first time, I sincerely say to you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're going to get this done. But sometimes we have to air out our dirty laundry to clean things up. Sometimes you can't clean things up, in a closed room, in a closed door. Sometimes you got to open up the windows, open up the blinds, bring out the Lysol. I don't have my spray. So you have to do these things, and you have to let the sun with those orange rays come in from that blue sky, and you have to clean it out. You got to air it all out. And sometimes your neighbors will see all the dirt and the filthiness in your house, and it's embarrassing because you didn't have a clean house. And so now you got to open everything out. And now your neighbors see just how dirty you were. And that's what this union is going through. We're airing out all of our ugliness. And you see the ugliness in how they call me names. The same people who were marching around with these protest movements over the years and talking about being respectful and how certain people were disrespecting the country, but yet now they're the ones disrespecting the country. Ooh, I'm preaching tonight. I got to stop. Let's move on to the next caller. So we had Michael Gus once. So we want to go to Angela Morales Myers. Hi, Angela. Sure.
Hi, President. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Glad to hear that. I want to let you know I voted for you. And I'm glad
Oh,
you
boy.
won.
Thank you.
Didn't know what I was getting, and I'm not disappointed so far.
All right.
But I do have, and I am a union paying dues member. So I want you to know that through everything and with the last administration, I agreed with some of the things. I disagreed with some of the things strongly. I was a job steward at one time. And I decided that I felt like our union was acting like our supervisors. So I opted out. And I want to let you know I was a good job steward. Anyone will attest to that. I'm in DLC 729. Anyways, my question, I have a couple of questions. Well, I have two questions. I have one question and then I have a comment. So in our agreement, Article 24, 1, Section B states where the state finds it necessary to make such changes, and everybody, you know what? Thank you for giving us that information. In areas within the scope of negotiations, says where the state finds it necessary to make such changes, the state shall notify the union of the proposed changes within 30 days prior to its proposed implementation. So that's in our contract. And
Yes.
for people that don't understand the contract, and I've gone back and listened to all of the stuff. For those of you that don't understand contract law or don't understand contracts, maybe you should talk to your DLC or take a law class, because you're not going to understand, and you're right, you can't take bits and pieces out of it. You just got to go with the flow. So I just wanted you to know that. My question is, and I not going to even talk about the COVID. I'm not going to talk the cease and desist. That's not what I want to know. What is the union going to do to increase its membership? That's important to me because there are a lot of people that opted out. I've been trying to explain to them, when you opt out, you don't have a voting right. When you don't have a voting right, then you cannot change the union. And doing so, you think that you're doing yourself a favor by not paying any dues, but guess what? You're doing a disservice to yourself, because you still reap the benefits of whatever the union negotiates for you. That has been my problem. But I just want to know, how are you going to move forward? I mean, and it's true, I've heard different sides. Until there's unity, it's true. Not everyone's going to like, President Brown, but not everybody liked Yvonne Walker either. But we're still a union, and we need to come together. I'm tired of hearing people get on this platform and bicker. You know what? If you don't like it, don't call in, don't pay dues, then get out of it. That's straight and narrow. I'm a straight shooter. But that's my only question is, I kind of would like to know if there's a plan in place on what you plan to do to see that our membership actually increases. And I mean by people actually paying their dues now. I think that with the new change of order, there's a lot of people that want to come back, but I'd like to know how we're going to achieve that. Or if you have a...
Sure. So, Angela, I'm not going to say everything on this call on how we're going to increase membership, because I'm not going to give away my strategy. That I will not do. Here's what I would tell you. We represent nearly 100,000. We're at 56% membership rate. And some people are canceling their membership, unfortunately, while many others are joining the union. How do you increase membership? What's the one issue that divides this country? It's not hard. It starts with a P and not purple. It's politics. That's what has always divided this union. When I said that everyone should be able to vote whether they pay money or not, that caused a great problem. You do not pay money in this country to vote. But I have to go back for a second, and I want to make sure I get all these callers on. The reason why the non-members reaped the benefits of the union was because of politics. 1977, September 30th, the Employer-Employee Relations Act. And it said you can unionize, and that was fantastic. And all the state employees, they ran around with their heads cut off. But here's what the state did. The state said, you will find an exclusive representative, and that exclusive representative will control wages and working conditions for these certain job classifications, whether they pay money or not. And there you got hoodwinked, you got tricked, bamboozled, misled, and just hustled. So you can have non-members come work for the state and enjoy the wages and the working conditions without having to pay anything for it. And then what they did, Governor Brown on his way out on his second term, on his first ride, they passed the fair share. And then that Republican governor came in and stopped it. And every time you have a Republican or Democratic governor, they go back and forth, fair share, no fair share. It was a political issue. And then finally, in the late 90s, they got the fair share passed, and then it stayed in because the Public Employment Relations Board got involved. The reason why people don't talk about this, because you have to study your history. You have to do your research. And so they've kind of divided people with this thing called the union, because some people are just anti-union. I would say, 3 to 4%. But when you force someone to do something and you take away their freedom to choose, which is ironic because we're talking about this current situation with COVID, then you're making someone do something that they don't feel they should have to do because you're making them do it. And then they don't see any value behind it, then why should they pay any money? But you've never had a union president take his or her time and explain it to you. This is another reason why they don't want me around, because I'm going to take you back in the past and I'm going to show you the hypocrisy of certain people. And so there's this idea in our union that the Republicans are anti-union. That is a lie. That's a lie. There's this idea that the Democrats want to, have socialism and just give out free money to everybody in America. That's a lie. But they have us divided. So in order to grow this union, you have to kind of get out of politics and you have to create your strike fund. And so how do you do that? By me going to work sites, me doing videos, me all over social media. And when you said, people don't want to come on here and act right, then they shouldn't come on. Here's what I'll say, Angela. Let people come on, let them curse me, let them scream at me, let them express themselves. It doesn't matter about their behavior. This is America. You can curse and scream and yell at people all that you want. Well, peacefully. You can do it angrily, but peacefully. And don't loot and tear up stuff. But we want people to exercise their freedom of speech. Because remember, we're letting people exercise their freedom of controlling their bodies. People say that's freedom of speech. So you can't just do certain parts of freedom of speech that you agree with, and then other things that you disagree with, you say, no, we don't want that part. That's not how that works in this country. We have to allow people to be themselves, but you have to still work with these people in these confrontational, difficult situations. That's what we must do. And I'm not saying this because I'm the president of the union. I'm saying this because we're all state employees and we work in state agencies with interesting bosses and some funny coworkers. Yes, we do. And somehow we have to get through it. We have to manage it. And that's what we're doing right now in this union. So we want people to come together, but we don't want to shut no one down. So many people in this union have been shut down for too many years. And when you said you used to be a job steward, in my mind, if you ever call me, you're going to be a job steward again. So if you call me, we're going to bring you back. That's a guarantee. All right. We had Michael Guntz. So I see a new person, Tammy Gear. Tammy Gear. Good evening.
Hi, how are you? So
hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm new to the state. I've been with you guys 2 years. And the first time I got to hear you speak was last week on the video. And I got to tell you, because I heard you speak and I respect what you're saying, I joined the union. I was like emailing, calling, like, hold on, get me on. I'm ready to join now, because for 2 years I wouldn't join. I came from the private sector and I worked for union and non-union. So when I came to the state, I wasn't really happy with the dental choice, only Western Dental for the first 2 years and the HMO. And I wasn't happy, like, when we took a cut in pay and I heard Governor Newsom got a raise. So I had some concerns. So that put me on the fence right out the gate. But when I heard you last week and I heard what you're standing for and you're fighting for both sides, I respect that. And that's what a union is. For those that don't know, the union is only as strong as we are. So whether we agree or not, like you said, keep it in-house, battle it out here. But on the front line, you got to stand united to make change. Me personally, I'm not vaccinated. I don't want to be. And I also don't want to be tested for a number of reasons. It's a human rights issue in some ways. This is not even FDA approved, that we don't have enough data. You know, me personally, there's some health concerns that concern me, but I could tell you, even if I didn't have that, I would still take this stand. So my question is, with the gentleman that said this isn't a safety issue, in some ways it is. If you get a false positive, then what? So now you gotta go to a doctor, you're getting treated, and maybe not for the right thing. You know, there's too much. The CDC is up and down. You know, they're always changing. Therefore, I don't feel that it's appropriate for it to be mandated from the governor, passed down to us, when this man doesn't even follow his own mandates. He's at dinners, his children are at camps, they're not masked, they're over there playing sports, and you're gonna tell me I gotta send my kid, my grandchildren to school with no mask? So I do got a problem. So that's just one thing. Okay. Second thing is, we're working remote. Are we expected so that if we don't choose to be vaccinated, the second part is we're remote, are we subjected to being tested weekly? And that's a concern for me because I'm not even around nobody. Oh, and let me follow up one more thing. Those PCR testings, you know, they're false positive, whatever. They're also being dipped in what's called ethanol oxide, which is EPA, causes cancer. Now, again, maybe I hear that it's ethanol oxides, you know, and other products and this and that. But if we're being tested weekly, we don't know what the long-term effect of that is. Having some in my nose weekly, I'm not a fan of. So those are my questions. And I'm sorry if I sound a little passionate, but I am. And also I'm a paralegal. So if you guys have any work and you need volunteers to help your attorneys, you have them reach out to me because I'm willing to volunteer.
Tammy Gear, we will be reaching out. We're writing her name down. Okay. So Tammy, first of all, thank you for becoming a dues paying member of Local 1000. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. People who are working from home, I've heard that for the last 3 or 4 days. Maybe if they were to give us given us a 30-day meet and confer, we could have sat down and had a quality conversation, and we could have figured all this out. They had 18 months to do this. Many of you knew that this COVID would not go away. And if you remember, this current governor said we should have permanent telecommuting. He's right. And in my campaign, I said the same thing, 75 to 90% permanent telecommuting. So people who are working from home, why should you have to show your vaccination card or be subjected to COVID testing if you're not around anyone? What's really going on? I don't know. I don't have the answers. Tammy has made some great points. Some great points. And many of you who are afraid to say what she said openly feel the same way. I kind of wonder in the country, because of the media, how do people really feel about our country? Because anytime you go against the grain, you're putting a mark on yourself. Now, it's not a problem for me to go against the grain, and not because I'm the president. I had a mark put on me from the time I was born. But for other people, it's not easy. So I want to appreciate and say deeply to Tammy Gear, thank you for your courage to speak your mind out openly. All right, so we're going to go to the next caller. Andrea Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. This is my first time in joining. I work at the Department of Justice. I'm also a paralegal. I've been there for 15 years. And I did not join the union for several years because there were about maybe a few hundred people that were union members. And when Yvonne was president, she never listened to us. And everybody over at the Department of Justice is frustrated. They're not happy. And I want to tell you, I've been listening to you for about a half an hour. And now I came in late. You go. You're amazing. And I am so glad to hear what you're saying. My question to you is, I have a really big problem with this OPED. Every time we get a raise, and I don't know if someone had brought this up previous, but every time we get a raise, we're always told that that percentage is going to not go up. What did it do? It decreases our raise. And it's really frustrating that we have to pay for retirees' pensions when CalPERS made the mess. And here Governor Newsom is giving away money for COVID shots, got billions of dollars from the federal government. And what does he do with it? Give it away in a lottery while we as state workers sit here and pay hundreds of dollars out of our own pocket. There goes our raises. And I am sick and tired of it. That's my question.
Okay, so you're right. You're right. And I've talked about his leadership style and his decision making. He didn't have to take our money, 2 days of pay for a whole fiscal year. And people keep forgetting this. He wanted to take our pay for 2 straight fiscal years. Let's not forget this. And when he was saying stay at home, he was at the French Laundry, as someone else made a comment about. He was out having a good time when he was telling you to stay home and be safe. So maybe his credibility is not there. And the fact that 76 billion surplus state budget and the 27 billion that came from the federal government, and that's not a part of the state budget for any essential worker pay, it's not that 27 billion. And in fact, as someone has stated, if you teleworked, the IRS, the Treasury says that you're not entitled to essential worker pay. And I want you to remember this, because they told you when this COVID kicked off that we were all in this together. That's what they told us. I can't tell. And I'm so glad you brought up about the OPEB. First, before I talk about this Calpers debate on August 17th at 6:30 p.m. to be held here by Zoom, first time Local 1000 does a Calpers debate. There's 2 different positions. Today, we had an election, a redo election for VP of bargaining. So Irene Green won today. Now, it won't be really official until after the protest period. Protest period is August 6th through the 13th. And then if there's a protest, the protest committee can decide no later than August 20th. Irene Green, hopefully, will be working with me to get a high quality contract. Irene Green. And so I want to make sure I mention that. But this OPEB situation that happened, that our union should have never gone for, should have never done. And when we rolled over on this issue, it influenced the other unions to do the same thing. Our retiree health care was guaranteed, but they convinced you that if you didn't pay into your retiree health care, that you may not get it when you retire. That was a complete trick. They manipulated us. And I didn't vote yes on this current contract. I didn't vote yes on the current contract because I know when someone's lying to me. The lies that have gone on throughout the years for Local 1000, they're over. See, everybody knows this. This is the funny thing. People will tell you that I'm this and I'm that, but here's the one thing they know I'm not. I'm not a liar. That's why they're trying to get me out of here, because they know I'm serious. We're going to enforce our contract. We're going to get a high quality contract this next go round. I guarantee you this is going to happen, and we're going to increase our membership, and we're going to unite. To all those people, all my critics who come for me, you got the right one. I keep telling you this. You got the right one. You can come at me with every trick in the book. It's not going to work. All right, let's move on to the next caller. Bobby Dalton Roy. Good evening, Bobby. How are you?
To be honest, I'm calling in with somewhat of a heavy heart. My aunt died today, this morning, and so, but I'm still committed to being on the call, and I apologize for being late. I wanted to comment on I wanted to comment. Thank you. There were some comments about, like, no reasonable accommodation and things like that. And yesterday we had a great stewards call, and so if any of your stewards are not on the Tuesday calls, please encourage them to do so. I had shared that at my department, the Department of Education, I'm in DLC 764. I've had many people contact me on all sides of the issue regarding the vaccine and mask and testing. And, we're in Sacramento, and so there's a mandatory masking requirement if you are working inside. But I let them know, right, that people can request a reasonable accommodation if for whatever medical reason or disability they cannot, comply with the requirement. Also, if they have a religious exemption, I'm encouraging them to contact their equal opportunity office. And so that's another avenue that people have. So, I find it, personally, I've been affected by COVID, right? And I do think it's important that we use all of the tools in our toolkit to protect ourselves and our families. And whether that includes vaccines or masks or social distancing or, washing our hands and all of that, whatever you're comfortable with doing, it's so important. I've lost too many family and friends to this. And I really, really, really encourage everyone to use every tool that's available and they're comfortable with using. Thank you.
Bobby Dalton Roy, you have our condolences on your relative who passed away. You speak with love in your heart. I know you do. I know you're sincere. And, this situation called COVID has affected many people in different ways. And it's caused a lot of emotion in our country and in our union. And we must respect people. And I remember when I was working, my top boss came down one day and he said, he was talking, but I could tell that day he was really sincere. And I went and I got vaccinated because he took care of his mother and father. And I've always said this, I don't go against people's mothers and fathers. That's not what I do. I'm going to show you the utmost respect. But I'm also going to show people the utmost respect if they tell me that this is how they feel about their body. Men feel a certain way about their bodies. Women feel a certain way about their bodies. And so I try to give people mutual respect more than they give me. And so I know a lot of people have strong, strong emotions. And some people, they have good bosses where they can actually work from home. When you bring a doctor's note in, it won't be a problem. But for some people, they don't have those types of bosses, and they bring a doctor's note in, and those bosses still tell them that's not good enough. You have to still come in. Your job demands that you come to work. You can't telework. Yeah, those kind of bosses as well. So there's a wide variety of situations involving COVID and permanent telecommuting. And as some people tell me, we've been telecommuting all this time and the work has been getting done. That tells us we could have done this a long time ago. And we could have been safe. And there would be no need for, quote, the vaccination card or anything like that. All right, let's go to the next caller. Hillary Barboza Hillary, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you, Richard?
I'm chippy, chirpy.
Me too.
Okay.
This may be an unpopular opinion, but it seems like to me like the obvious solution to this whole debate over vaccinations and all that is to just go back to what we were doing before and just have everybody wear a mask and socially distance. I mean, that way we're all doing the same thing. No one's forced to test. No one's forced to get a vaccine. You know,
That's right.
obviously those of us who are vaccinated aren't going to be happy with wearing a mask, but you know, we all got to make a sacrifice to keep each other safe. Anyway, what my question for you is, and I'm still trying to get to know you because I haven't been a very active member in the past, but the question to you about where your purple is reminded me of something that I saw on your web page in your platform. And I just wanted to know what you mean by established local 1000 independence.
You are correct. That's on the webpage. And it's point number 10, the base number for math, number 10. But when I said, establish our independence, what I mean by that is establish the fact that we're going to create a whole new culture for Local 1000. A whole new culture. We're going to create a new way of doing things, a new way of spending our money. That's what that means. So we're going to take a look and we're going to research our past and we're going to see how we spend our money in our past. Did we get a good rate of return, a reasonable rate of return? Not just in money, but in how we feel about our union. If our union is just over 50% membership, then what's going on? Why don't we have a higher membership level? Why are people even some of our dues paying members don't think that our union does anything, but they keep paying anyway, just in case for an emergency. They don't feel we have good job representation. And so what we're doing by creating this new culture, we're, quote, reorganizing, restructuring, doing a merger, doing some type of hybrid, some type of mutation. We're doing all these things because we're going to put our people first. And so when I say create, this independent identity, new way of doing things, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. All the money we've been spending in the past and we haven't gotten a good rate of return, why are we spending that money that way? Can we spend our money differently? That's what I'm saying. And I want to thank you for your question because that's a very, very good question. And you actually went to the website and you read the 10-point platform. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next caller is Kristen Thompson. Christian Thompson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to thank you for everything that you sacrifice for us every day. It takes a special person to be able to do what you do, and I thank you for that. You ran on the promise to cut union dues in half. How and when do you see this happening? Was my first question. Actually, It's my only question. My only other statement is thank you for taking a stand against political spending, as politicians are already paid by taxpayers and should not have extra money.
Okay. My promise was to cut those dues on the first day, and that is what I was going to do. But people said you're being a dictator if you do that, Richard. I don't like being called a dictator because I know that's not true about me. We're going to cut these dues hopefully within the next 6 months. We have to create a new way on how we spend our money. I've been trying to unravel with the strong support of our Vice President, Secretary Treasurer, David Jimenez. He's working with the staff to uncover really where we're spending all this money and how we can spend it more efficiently and more effectively. But that's going to take some time. As you know, David Jimenez believes in a forensic audit along with some other people. I was advised that if I was really a leader, that I would allow the forensic audit to take place and don't make a rash, emotional decision on day one. So that's what I did. I didn't let my emotions make a decision for me. I decided to work with the VPs in a way that people said I couldn't do it, that I wouldn't be willing to work with others, and that is a lie. And so I did not reduce the dues on day one, but you can best believe I was going to, and it would have made headlines. And you know I make headlines. Those dues will get reduced. I just wasn't able to do it as fast as I promised. So some of the things on my 10-point platform I have not been able to do within the first 30 days. But I said religiously on videos, on day one, I would reduce those dues. And so I failed in that. I own it. And, I didn't get it done on day one. All right. Next caller, Susan Negrete. Good evening, Susan.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on tonight. I appreciate it. I just have a brief comment. I'm a dues paying member, and I've only been with the state, I think about 5 years. I'm going on 5 years. I appreciate your stance in trying to represent all the members. But I feel very strongly that this is a very unique situation in terms of us having a worldwide pandemic, a worldwide health crisis. And I really feel that the union's first responsibility is to the health and safety of its members. And so I'm completely supportive of you holding the administration's feet to the fire in terms of complying with our contract. And I also am supportive of you supporting those of our members who feel that they have a reasonable accommodation request to be made on this issue. But again, I feel that as a community, as the union is a representative of our community, that as a community, we have a responsibility to do the things that are necessary to get us through this terrible situation. And I hope you'll just keep that in mind.
Okay, I want to thank you for that, those comments. We're going to stop with the last caller at Sherry. But what Susan said, she's absolutely right. This is why our country is so torn up right now. Because we have people who want the country to heal. And we have other people who want the same thing, but they can't agree on the healing process. And our union, being the largest public sector union in the state of California, we're in the forefront. So all the other unions, they watch us to see what we're going to do. I say this to the current governor, and I've said it 9 times, 14 different ways. Can you please call me? Can you please call me and let's sit down and let's figure this out. We can get this done. We can find a pathway. Yes, we can. I know we can. But you can't, regardless of what I've said about you, regardless of how you feel about me, regardless of how I feel about you, they keep telling us, Governor and myself, that it's not about us. That's what they keep telling us. Now, I tried to reach out to you, and I've gone through the front door, and Governor, I've gone through the back door. You and I know what I'm talking about. Yes, you do. Your people know as well. I know they know that today. So let's work together. This is the #1 state in the nation. I love you, Missouri. That's my home. But this is the #1 state in the nation. We can figure this out, but we just can't do mandates and force people into things that they don't feel comfortable with. Anytime you force somebody to do something, you never get their very best. You just don't. Let me stop there. Okay, so the next caller, we've already spoken to Michael. So we're going to go to Frank, and then we go to Sherry, and then we're going to stop for tonight. So Frank, good evening. How are you this evening? Hello, Frank.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead,
All right.
Frank.
I just wanted to make a statement. By the way, I'm really happy from what I heard tonight regarding you're trying to represent both sides, and I totally respect that. I just want to make a point regarding people who are unvaccinated are not being responsible. I'm not trying to argue the point, but I do want to make people to know that I've done a lot of research on this, and I've come to the conclusion to not be vaccinated at this time. I may at a certain date, but for right now, from the information that I've gotten, that the mainstream media does not put out, that I would be irresponsible to myself for vaccinating. So I just want to make that very clear. That said, I mask, I social distance, and I telework. I've been in the office, I've been with this, my department for a year. I've been with the state total 8.5 years. And I teleworked the last year, and I barely come to the office. So I'm willing to mask. I'm not crazy about twice a month testing. Maybe that's something that can be worked out. Some of the testing had to do with the fact, I want to correct the one gentleman who thought there wasn't a risk in the testing. There were some thoughts that some of the testing had cancer-causing agents. Now, I've read that. I don't know for sure, but I think that's some of the concern. So if that gentleman wants to debunk some of that, he may want to research that. So my question is, I telework, and I'm a little concerned. First of all, I'm concerned that I want to make sure that I want to make I want to work for the state another 3 years, and I do not want to lose my job because I have to get vaccinated at some point. That seems to be the way the country, some of the country is going, not all of it, and I'm very concerned about that. Because I like my job. I don't want to leave, but if I have to vaccinate, I will leave at this point. That's just my personal decision. I'm not making any characterizations about anybody else. So my question is that, first of all, I hope that you will fight for unvaccinated rights. And like I said, I'm willing to work. I am willing to get tested, but not, I think twice a week's a little excessive. I guess my question is, if we telework, could there be accommodation made for all we need to do is test if there is a need to come in the office? That way people who are coming in, if there's a safety issue, they have no concerns about me because I've already been tested, but I telework most of the time. It seems to me for people who telework, 2 times a week is a little excessive, and I'll leave it at that. I know I know you're tired and you got a lot of people going on. And by the way, I'm willing to help. If you want to call me, go ahead.
Okay, Frank DeMatos, thank you for your call. You know, I don't really want to respond to that call because people know that if you're teleworking from home 99% of the time, then there's no need to show your vaccination card. There's no need to be COVID tested. But then it leads into another area. I want to walk away from that. So I want to sit down with the state of California with a 30-day meet and confer notice. I first want to speak to the governor because he can make things happen really quickly. Now, they say he's busy. I imagine he is. But, I know that you can do press interviews and all that. So I'm hoping that you'll still take time and call me, hopefully no later than Friday. Because people want to know if you and I have talked, if you and I can sit down and have a reasonable conversation like 2 adult men. I'll stop there. All right, so the last caller, Sherry. Good evening, Sherry.
Hello, good evening. It
Hi.
looks like I might be the longest dues paying member you have online.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
a dues paying member maybe for over 25 years.
25 years?
Yes, I've been with the company, with the state for over 25 years.
Okay.
So I've been paying since I started with the state. And so we've been there up and down. And so, yeah, we've had roller coaster. And I do agree with what you're about to do, that you're going to speak with the governor and in behalf of both sides. In my company, we're starting something else, slightly in the sense that the governor is mandating, but it seems like they expanded it to a different way where it can accommodate most employees. Because I also telework, and I asked the question regarding about the weekly testing to our HR, and they seem to give me an explanation that only when I come in is when I need to get tested, because I'm going to be exposed to other people. And I was also told that I could ask for reasonable accommodation because I have a purpose of not vaccinating for medical reasons. So there's some options that are available, and maybe this is something that Governor Newsom needs to expand further, because in some departments or units in the state seems to have some kind of common sense, and compared to other departments of the state agency. So maybe they're not just fully educated of what needs to be done. Maybe there's some middle ground there that they can do within the HR of different departments. Maybe that is also something that you might want to talk with them for, not just the Governor Newsom, because they're state fund. I work for state fund, so state fund has had explored that option to us, and I was told that way. And so I'm willing to go for the reasonable accommodation, since I telework and Zoom meetings. If I had to come in for Zoom, then I may have to ask for a reasonable accommodation for Zoom meetings rather than coming in, and it's not cost effective for me to do a weekly testing when I'm only a 30-minute to 1 hour or 2 hour meetings that I could come in. So I'm not sure. Maybe you need to talk to the HR also of each state agency. Maybe they're just not experienced enough, because I came from 2 different state agencies, and I know for sure that one agency, their HR is not very helpful, or they're not knowledgeable enough or experienced enough with many things. And some departments are very good at it. So that is maybe something you need to explore as well.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up on the last call. One of the big reasons why we're enforcing our contract, Sherry, is that all these state agencies are doing different things. So we were asking for our 30-day meet and confer so we could sit down and talk to the governor, talk to Cal HR, and figure out how we can establish a permanent teleworking plan, standardized for all state agencies, and update that 2010 DGS telework policy. And then we could have also answered the other questions as well. All of this could have been avoided. And they could have established a permanent teleworking policy before I was sworn in office, because they started back in September 2020, but they never finished it. And so now, as a new president, I have to finish a lot of different things. But that's okay. If you want the challenge in life, sometimes the challenge in life will come to you. And so you have to be willing to accept it and have the courage and the faith to get through it. I want to thank everyone tonight. Tonight's been a very nice call. I know a lot of people think I'm just super tired. Maybe I am. All right, but I want to thank everyone. Don't forget, August 17th, 6:30, the Calpers Debate. And also today, Irene Green won vice president for bargaining in a redo election. So congratulations to Irene. And we'll do this next week again on Wednesday. And don't forget, next Tuesday, Stewards Only, Annika Waz does speak on it on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8, one hour. All right, thank you so much. I'm Richard Lewis Brown. Today is August 4th, 2021. This is Local 1000. Local 1000 listens to you Have a great evening. Good night.